Achievements come, but inside us there is always an empty space, a sense that something essential is missing. It is in this fertile emptiness that the soul calls us, not with noise, but with the insistent silence that echoes in the heart. Carl Jung warned that what we do not accept within ourselves returns disguised as destiny. Rumi reminded us that the wound is the place where the light enters. Two men from different times and traditions, united by a truth that never fades, that there is no escaping what lives in our unconscious. Perhaps what hurts us is not the enemy, but the guide. Perhaps the darkness we fear is only proof that we have not yet discovered our own clarity. Spirituality begins when we dare to stop running away. And in that instant when fear makes us retreat, it is exactly then that life asks us to move forward. To move forward means facing a silent law of the soul, a warning we can no longer ignore. Jung left us with a simple yet demanding reminder. As long as we do not make conscious what is hidden in our psyche, we will remain puppets of invisible forces. It's like walking through a house at night without turning on the light. We stumble over furniture, hit doors, fall into holes, and then call all of that bad luck. How many times have you repeated the same relationships that always end in pain? How many times have you noticed that even when you change cities, jobs, or companions, the same shadows reappear? This is the unconscious trying to make itself known. It is not a punishment, but a calling. Life never tires of repeating its lessons until we finally listen. The rule feels harsh because it demands courage. It asks us to abandon the temptation to blame others, fate, or luck, and to recognize that the root is within. It isn't comfortable, but it is liberating. Jung said that what we deny in ourselves will eventually dominate our lives. Rumi translated the same truth into poetry. Do not despair with the shadows. It is in them that the moon finds room to shine. Jung went even further. He said that most people are too weak to obey this rule, because facing the shadow requires not just momentary courage, but the daily discipline of looking inward. It is easier to project onto the world the cause of our pain than to assume the weight of recognizing it in ourselves. This weakness is not moral, but spiritual. It is born from the fear of losing the masks that protect us. And yet, when we dare to confront this fragility, authentic strength is born, the strength that begins the true awakening of consciousness. Facing this rule is like wiping clean the fogged mirror of the soul. Suddenly, we see the face that was always there. It is not that destiny has changed. It is that we finally opened our eyes. And when the unconscious becomes conscious, life stops being blind repetition and becomes conscious creation. And in this awakening, we discover something even more surprising. The shadow we avoided so much does not hold only wounds, but also forgotten treasures. When we hear about the shadow, we usually think of everything we reject in ourselves: flaws, traumas, failures, fears. But the shadow is not only a storage place for pain, it also keeps the gifts we abandoned along the way. From early on, we learn to hide parts of ourselves in order to be accepted. The spontaneous child who laughed too loudly was called inconvenient. The sensitive young man was labeled weak. The strong woman was accused of being too harsh. So we buried precious gifts under the rug of consciousness. Today, they live in the shadow. Rumi said that darkness is the candle that guides you inward. This darkness is fertile. It is where suppressed creativity rests, where courage that never dared to speak sleeps, where tenderness confused with weakness waits. When we explore the shadow, we don't just find monsters, we also find gold. Imagine the anger you have always repressed. It can become vital energy, fuel to say no to what dishonors your soul. Sadness, when accepted, can turn into profound compassion. Even envy, so often condemned, can reveal desires that need to be recognized as legitimate. The shadow is a chest of forgotten treasures. What once seemed shame can reveal itself as power. What seemed weakness can reveal itself as strength, and what seemed like a flaw can become a path toward wisdom. Darkness is not against you. It only guards what you have not yet dared to claim as part of yourself. But the unconscious is not limited to living inside us. It also projects outward, painting onto others what we have not yet accepted in ourselves. One of the most subtle mistakes of the soul is believing that what irritates us in others belongs only to them. But the world is made of mirrors. Every time we react strongly, whether in criticism or admiration, we are facing a reflection of ourselves. Have you noticed how certain people trigger disproportionate anger in you? Or how others seem to carry qualities you idolize but believe you do not possess? This is projection. The unconscious, unable to show itself directly, paints onto others the traits we have not yet recognized in ourselves. Jung said that everything that irritates us in others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Rumi expressed it more gently. The beauty you see in others is just the reflection of the light within you. What we criticize or idolize are always fragments of us, displaced outward. This doesn't mean the other person has no real flaws or qualities. But what holds us emotionally is not the other, but what they awaken inside us. Judgment becomes an opportunity. What I point out in another may be an invitation to look inward. Projection is a trap because it distances us from ourselves. But when we recognize it, it becomes an ally. Every irritation is an invitation to self-awareness. Every admiration, a reminder of a seed forgotten in our shadow. The world then stops being a stage of enemies and becomes a hall of mirrors where we learn to see ourselves. Recognizing the reflections is essential, but it is not enough. The next step is to unite what we discover, to transform conflict into wholeness, as if performing alchemy with our own soul. Seeing the shadow is only the beginning. The real work is integration. This means uniting opposites, accepting contradictions, turning pain into wisdom. It is like the ancient alchemy that sought to turn lead into gold, not destroying the lead, but revealing within it the possibility of gold. In practice, integration begins when we stop fighting against what we feel. Instead of repressing anger, we can listen to it. What does it want to show me? Instead of suffocating sadness, we can welcome it. What is it asking me to learn? This listening transforms. Rumi said, "Don't be satisfied with stories. Uncover the myth that lives in you." Jung called this individuation, becoming whole. Not an idealized copy, but the living totality of who we are, with light and shadow, with flaws and potentials, with inner silence and vital energy. Integration requires practices. It can be meditation, where we observe without judgment. It can be reflective writing, where we give voice to forgotten parts. It can be contemplation of nature, where we learn from the river that flows without effort. Each practice is daily alchemy, where inner tensions transform into silent wisdom. And little by little, we realize that we no longer need to hide anything. Anger becomes clarity. Fear turns into prudence. Sensitivity becomes a bridge to compassion. Integration does not erase our shadows, but transforms them into fertile ground for consciousness to blossom. Even denser behaviors, such as manipulation, can be transmuted when recognized with honesty. The manipulator is someone who has learned to pull the invisible strings of affection and attention to fill their emptiness. If this ability is brought into consciousness, it ceases to be an unconscious game of control and can become a refined sensitivity to perceive others' emotions, a gift of psychological insight capable of strengthening authentic bonds instead of distorting them. What was once shadow becomes, when integrated, a conscious form of relational wisdom. And when this transformation happens within us, something greater moves beyond the individual. The whole world receives the breath of that change. When someone transforms inwardly, something shifts in the world. Jung believed that each individual step reverberates in the collective unconscious. Rumi said, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." Our inner healing is never just ours. When we choose to look within, we break chains that have lasted for generations. When we turn our pain into wisdom, we free our children, friends, and even strangers from carrying the same burden. True spiritual awakening is not an escape into an idealized world. It is a commitment to real life, with every gesture of presence that resonates beyond the self. Every time someone lights a candle in their soul, it illuminates the path for others. This is the mystery of collective awakening. Each individual healing is a silent offering to the whole. By integrating our shadow, we help humanity become more lucid. By listening to our soul, we teach others to do the same. The awakening of consciousness is an act of love that transcends all boundaries. So that this love does not remain only as an idea, we can bring its memory into the body with a simple and symbolic practice. Take a deep breath. Imagine a candle lit within your chest. Around it, there is shadow. Do not fight it. Simply notice how the small flame lights enough for you not to get lost. The shadow remains, but now there is light. Feel the calm that this image brings. This candle is your presence, your silent spirituality, your spiritual truth. Every time life feels dark, remember, there is no need to drive away the shadow. You only need to keep the flame alive. If these words touched something within you, perhaps this is the moment to take another step on this path of rediscovering your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story may be the mirror someone else needed to find. And if you wish to continue in this vibration, watch the video we've left in the card. It was chosen with care to continue this journey with you. Peace and light.